Hello everyone. I apologize for not getting this to you sooner. I have got power back. I got power back in my house by Tuesday morning, but we still do not have internet. There's some sort of political thing about who's responsible for it and stuff like that, and so we don't have any internet. So I'm going to have to upload this from my office when I get in the office on Thursday. So what I'm going through tonight is I'm going to do a couple things. So I wanted to talk about the idea that when I was looking at your projects, and so what I did is I went in to the homework and I reviewed what you guys did for your questions, which you did great jobs with your questions. But I also downloaded the file that went along with your question. So I'll just go and pull randomly a file here. Let's pull Shane's up for quickly. So many people actually included either an attached file here on the file, or they included, so here he's got it as a text storyboard here, or they attached the file actually into the document. So let me pull up, so here I can click on the file, and down here at the bottom was the document. I wasn't concerned about how I got it, just as long as I got it. But my concern is that I may not be seeing the most current file. And this is a mistake on my part. I thought that the OneDrive approach would work out great I could see in real time as you guys are making changes, but it wasn't giving me notifications, and I kept on checking it to see if it would give me notifications, and it wasn't. So that's my fault completely. I was trying to find a more efficient way of doing it, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So I need to make sure that we're all on the same page, because one of the things that I'm finding as I'm reviewing through the work is that many of you still haven't made the changes that we had discussed in previous weeks. So some basic items, and I'm just going to pull up an example here. So some basic items are things like not including an image for every one of the steps. Not including the instructional text for it. So right now, step 5, it just says, mix and bowls. And one of the things I want to make sure that everybody understands, and a couple people did this, and this must have been I must have misspoke when I explained it, that each step by itself is not just the word step. Step 4 doesn't mean anything to the learner. They need to know what they're doing during that step. So step 4, they're actually preparing the crust. Okay, step 5, this would be add butter and sugar. Okay, and so that's what the step is. Now, in the actual instructional text, you say, at this point, we need to add in our 1/4 cup of butter and cup of sugar. Okay. And then you want to put in there some little additional information. Okay. We are adding these items now, these ingredients now. Now, so we can mix them together in the next step. Okay, so I'm giving a reason, I'm giving a rationale about why we're doing a particular action. Okay, then I get to the next step. There's step 6 is, okay, mix together with your hands. So this, the actual step, the step statement is actually mix butter and sugar. Okay, and then we put in the actual screen text, and a lot of people did this with screen text, and this is great. You put in their screen text so we know it's a screen text. Okay, so plain black. Okay, so here it is. It's like using your clean hands, squish the butter and sugar together until They are so mixed that you can't see butter without some sugar on it. Okay, and then what you want to do is make sure that you put in there image, and then a bowl with butter covered with sugar. Okay, and actually I'll put in there a little bit extra detail photo of bowl. Okay, so notice I'm being very descriptive about what needs to go into that instructional piece, okay? Because the key part with this is we're going to hand this off to a graphic designer. They're going to take and need to find these images or create these images to your specific, to match your specific instructions, okay? So this is something that I want to make sure that everyone's real clear about. Make sure that you read through your elements. One of the other items that I saw is that some people put in their photo bowl, they just drop the of for some reason. They just put in their full photo burning, photo burning meat. Well, so am I burning the photo? Okay, because the way that the statement was written in the image description, it sounds like the photo's on fire, not an image of meat that's on fire. So it's be a photo of meat on the grill. Okay, not a photo on the grill. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're really clear about that. So this is something that needs to be done before anybody can move to the next step. I need to have everybody take and finish up all of their elements for the script, the text-based storyboard, because we're going to use this exact text in our visual storyboard. So if you aren't ready at this point, then you can't move forward to the next part. And we're starting the visual storyboarding. That's part of our conversation tonight. So I'm going to be including that description and how we're going to make that process change in my lecture today. Okay, but I need to make sure that everyone goes through and is very clear about completing all of the elements of your text-based storyboard. And so that's something that's really important. And I'm sending people back your files so that I know that we have the current version. One of the things that some people did and some people didn't do, and I'm not quite sure if I missed something in my instructions, but everyone needed to have at the top of their document the date that they last updated. Because this is what I look at when I open a file is I need to know, oh, wait a second, they opened up on the 5th. The file that I'm looking at is from the 3rd. Okay, so I put this in June 5th. This is what I'm working on this. So June 5th, 10 p.m. All right, so I'm doing this recording at this time. So the fact is that this is the last date and time that this is being updated. All right, so I need to make sure that's in there so that I know what it is as the most current. Also, that makes it so you know what is the most current version you have. Okay, so the really important thing is, like I said, you've got to get these text-based storyboards going forward. I'm going to be doing an evaluation. Basically, if I was to evaluate your text-based storyboards, several of you would not pass at this point because your text storyboards aren't complete. Okay, so it's really important that you get these done because you can't move forward without them finished. All right, because your next project, you turn in both the text storyboards and the visual storyboards, and they need to correlate. Okay, so that's a key element with this. All right, so I will be sending an email back to everyone today with the document. Well, actually, when I get to my office tomorrow, I'll have to send it in because I have no internet. I'll have to send it in to everybody tomorrow, which will be the file that I have, that I currently have, which I think is your current file. And I have some notes with those, but I want to make sure that I'm looking at the current file because like I said, there's no changes. And so I want to make sure that I'm not looking at an old version and evaluating your work based on an old version. Okay, so this is the text-based storyboard. So I want to make sure that everybody's really on board with the text-based storyboard, making sure that you've got your text in there, make sure it's conversational, make sure that if you've got image descriptions in there, that your descriptions are descriptions. Don't just put in there just the most basic details, put in a full description of it, okay? And then at the end of your description, You were to take and copy and paste in your questions, and everybody did really well with that. That I'm less concerned about because everybody did a nice job with it. Okay, so this is the text-based storyboard. This is one of the things that I need to have right now before our class on Monday, next Monday, so that I know that I have got the current work, and if you've got to take and do any updating work. And I'm also, remember, I mentioned this in class a couple times, I'm not going to be your copywriter. So I'm not going to go through every single line of text and say, hey, this has got an error in it. You've got to proofread it through that. You've got to take and find out where those errors are. Okay. The other thing that I've seen, and like you said, this might be old work, but I'm seeing it still in the current files, is that some people still have got multiple steps in one step, or multiple actions in one step. And as you should remember from the last 2 classes at least, I've talked about the idea that every step should be a single action. Okay, so if you're taking and having them add butter and then having them mix it together, those are 2 separate steps. Okay, so measuring the ingredients for the crust, you're measuring out the ingredients. Okay, that's kind of a little bit of a gray area. But if you're preparing the crust, you're doing one specific item. And then if you're adding sugar, if you see from my example here, I added the sugar and butter as a separate step. And then I mixed the sugar. That's a separate step. So each one of these things is an action. All right. And so each one needs to be explained as an action. All right. So that's the key item. Also, if you'll notice, look at my text here. I can see quickly, if you're a Microsoft person, you can see, oh, I need to fix these spelling errors. You're going to see this now, but when you go and copy it over to PowerPoint, yes, you'll see it, but boy, it's going to take a lot longer for you to catch all those spelling errors, okay, spelling and grammar errors. So it's best to do it now on the text storyboard before we move it over to the visual storyboard. All right, that is pretty much all I'm going to say about the text-based storyboards, other than I need them ASAP, because the work that I'm seeing right now, like I said, still needs work. And so I need to make sure that everyone is up to state before we move into creating your visual storyboards. Okay? So the next section I'm going to talk about is actually creating your visual storyboards.